Hello, hello. We are back with the second episode, and today we are not alone. Who are with us today, Ryan?
Well, a good friend of mine, Mr. Flippity Flop, Leon Lewis. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Leon.
Hey everybody. My name's Leon, a long-time friend of Mockers, long-time member of 651. Played poker professionally for about 13, 14 years. When I first started, my hairline was somewhere around here, and just over the years, it's just progressively just got further and further back. But yeah, still very much in love with the game, and excited to sort of share some of my thoughts about poker and some other stuff on the podcast today.
And Leon plays heads up, sit and goes, and he also plays MTTs. So he's got quite good results in both of those. Actually, very good results in the heads up, sit and goes, particularly, which is one of the absolute, for my opinion, one of the absolute best in the game. Oscars, we have a.
I have one question that I like to ask every poker player that I know. What is the best lesson you learned from poker?
Oh wow. I think the best thing I learned from poker is just the importance of, in life, looking at decisions from the perspective of EV. I can't say it's something that I always live by. I definitely don't. My bank balance will suggest. But no, I think just trying to look at things from a measured way of thinking, and not being results oriented. I think a lot of people in day-to-day life, they judge like how good the decision is based on the end result.
Yeah.
But ourselves as poker players, we learn to okay, well, these are the different variables. These are the pros and these are the cons. I make my decision, and if the result doesn't go my way, I can still be happy with myself because I've looked at it through that perspective. So
I agree. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned from poker too. Oscars, do you want to tell us a quote today from our good old Alan Watts?
You already want the quote?
I want the quote. I want to know what we're working with today.
Okay. Today we will work with there is never... No. I will start again. There never is or was or will be anything except the present.
Facts.
I like that.
And it also gets us onto our topic of FOMO, FOMO and impulsive behavior. So we want to talk about FOMO because it's one thing that our guest here struggles with quite a lot.
Every single day, it's a struggle. This
FOMO situation there. So, how is FOMO affecting your grind schedules, meeting goals, and just maybe elevating your life? How is FOMO affecting that?
Yeah, so for me, because I have obviously I have a lot of friends through poker, including yourselves, obviously, but a lot of my friends are people that have sort of regular 9-to-5 jobs. So what happens a lot with that is a lot of their downtime and their social times on the weekend, or it's in the evenings, which obviously, as we know, for us quite often it's the prime time to grind. Mm-hmm. So if my friends are like, oh, do you want to go cinema? Do you want to have some drinks in the bar? I'm meant to be grinding a lot of the times when they make these suggestions. And I'd say I probably, on an average week, historically, I probably lose 10 to 15 hours from having the FOMO of not joining my friends. I might miss out on all the fun that they're having and all the excitement, or someone done this or someone said this. And one of the biggest challenges about poker, if you don't have a regimented schedule or some sort of schedule, is you end up doing, whereas the average person does 40 hours a week in their job, you're playing poker 20, 25 hours a week because of having the FOMO of not spending time with your friends. So that's been my challenge.
And do you think you would ever switch it to having FOMO of poker, where you're scared of missing out on poker? Because who knows how long profitability in poker is? Do you reckon?
I think that's the case for a lot of poker players, that they can't go out because the games are too good.
Yeah.
This is it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it is something especially earlier on in my career, I was the complete reverse. So I was I put myself in the shell. I was doing, this, Moko, yourself. I was doing 50, 60, 70 hour weeks. and the outside world is very, 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 very much secondary. And I think one of the challenges for myself, because I consider myself to be like a relatively sociable person, I probably have a higher frequency of friends outside of the poker world than most poker players. So a lot of poker players will have their network of friends. They'll study, they'll socialize together. I've got like a football group. Maybe we'll speak about this later. I was living in the co-living building with 500 people. So a lot of my sort of FOMO from poker, it's a bit embarrassing to say, but over the years it has sort of decreased, if I'm honest with you, which is not great.
What about you, Oscars? Do you have any problems with this FOMO issue?
I don't call them problems.
There we go.
I don't know.
Okay.
Obviously, I have a fear of missing out, but on some social events. But you have to be realistic and understand what you. I think you have fear of missing out only when you don't know what you want. Because like you realistically, you know that you can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
And when you have your priorities listed out, then it's pretty easy to choose what you're gonna do during the time. And you mentioned a little bit the schedule. When you have a schedule or a clear value list, then fear of missing out is not that big of a deal. I think so.
I hear you. I think this a very, very big thing in terms of sticking to a structure and the grind is the environment that you're in. And I recently was sort of, I won't go into too much detail, was forcibly removed from the co-living space I was just in. There's like 500 people with their own schedules or whatever. But I feel like my next environment, I'm going to make sure that it's similar to one I had like 7-8 years ago, where I have small network of friends, me and my partner, my office, and life is just very, 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 very simple. And I think a challenge linked to that from FOMO and impulsivity is it's about sort of disconnecting yourself from all of the distractions in the outside world. And I think, and I know speaking to you, Marco, and just from what you said yourself, Oscars, I feel like you guys have detached yourself from as many of those distractions as possible. And I think the elite poker, I think there's a correlation between how the elite or the most profitable poker players and their level of detachment from the outside world. And yeah, that's been one of my challenges is being too connected to that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I would say, actually, I have a big problem with FOMO too, but it just doesn't seem it because, like, let's just say I do graffiti art, as a lot of people know, street art, graffiti art, and if I take a day off to do it, I then make a new like social group with people that I've met, or I do get a lot of endorphins from it, and I have really good experience, and then it's like, oh, I want that again, and then now sitting on a computer desk with the same kind of like, you know, the happiness doesn't come from poker results or something, or it's just kind of like very consistent grind. I guess the happiness comes from the learning of poker, getting better at poker, and achieving goals. Whereas actually the actual they're sitting there clicking, going up and down variants isn't that enjoyable compared to like graffiti can be super enjoyable. So once I do it once and then it kind of goes, oh, I want to do that again this week. Then like I kind of break my schedule, and so I've now, with the help of Oscars, I'm able to kind of stick to a schedule for this last month, I guess, or half a month even. So hopefully I can keep doing it. But it's a big problem for me too, where once I start letting those social things in, I've then made new bonds and friendships that, like, I don't know, like I would almost feel rude to be like, well, I could do it last week, but I can't do it this week, you know. So now at least with a schedule, I can say, well, this is when I'm working. There's nothing I can do about that, and I think that's the approach I have to take now, because it is definitely impacting me and my long-term goals for sure. Also, you did mention you were forcibly out of your accommodation. So is this anything to do with impulsive behaviours? Because I think
I can't believe
this could tie in.
Oh no, I can't believe you brought this up.
We don't have to. If it's a personal thing, we don't have to talk about it.
No, we'll speak on it. I'm here to be open and honest. But basically what it was is, as I mentioned, that the building I was previously living in was a co-living space, wide spectrum of people, 18 years old to 70-year-olds, career professionals to local drug dealers, all living in the same. It's a crazy place.
Dreamy
so
place
there's
to
one.
live.
Crazy place to live.
No
So it's
distractions at all.
No distractions at all. And adding on to that, there's 3-4 parties during the week, a communal games room, a cinema room. It's like a university for adults. This place. So yeah, the perfect conditions to be a professional poker player, of course.
Of course.
Anyway, I digress. So what's happened in this thing leading to my eviction was, and I'm going to condense it. This elderly quote unquote gentleman lived in the building, had been quite disparaging to many women in the building, promised them career progressions if they spend time with him in different cities and spend time alone. And he was in one moment quite rude to my girlfriend. He used a disparaging term towards her. I confronted him, and whilst he was sitting on the bench, I've tipped the bench over and he's fell onto the floor. Didn't physically touch him. Obviously, whilst I do feel I should have confronted him, the level of impulsivity that I had in that moment is not acceptable in the real world, which I understand. So an example of my impulsivity, example of my impulsivity and not reacting to a situation how I should have done. So.
And how big is impulsive behavior to you in poker? Like maybe buying into tournaments or something like that. Is that very impulsive? Or
I think for me, I think this is an element where like impulsivity is linked to FOMO, because if I see, and it's really embarrassing, but let's say if you see somebody like win like a big EPT tournament, you watch the live stream, and it's a big chunk of money that they've won at one time, it's hard to not have the feeling of like chasing the fast money.
Yeah,
that makes sense. And you mentioned I've had success in tournaments before, which I have. I've had like 2 or 3 like quite big scores.
Yeah,
but in reality,
one was a W Coupe, right? Main event W Coupe.
W Coupe
was it 4th or something? 9th. Oh, 9th.
It has 9th. Yeah, it's 9th. That's like 2013, I think. But I think if I look at it from like a logical, pragmatic point of view of what my ROI has been in every tournament that I've ever played, and I never played a tournament, I'm going to put all of those hours into my regular grind. Mm-hmm. I for sure would be better off just having played my regular grind the whole time. Yeah, unquestionably.
This is a conversation we've had, right? I've tried to like persuade you, like actually you're going to make that big score much quicker, and also big scores from my experience. Big scores when, let's just say you're MTT player and you get big scores, it's part of the grind, so it's not so impactful. But when I've had like big scores in the past, it's set me back a lot because it's like made me complacent. It's taken me, so I don't actually find those, like a lot of things that I felt was good luck and really, really, really what I wanted actually set me back from progressing further on what actually does me good. And so it kind of distracts me or allows me this form of complacency that I probably shouldn't have. And had I just grinded it through, I would have been better off, like you just said. So yeah, I think that this is something that, like, how do we now stop this impulsive... Sorry.
Okay, I think there is two different things. Like one, impulsively you shouldn't change your routine and start playing MTTs when somebody hits a big score. But we play those MTTs and get those scores as a byproduct to having fun as well, right?
Yeah. But then the result then leads on to more impulsion.
Yeah, you just overdo it, and then you change your normal behavior, like your schedule and everything. That's like partying too much is the same thing. It's just this feels like work, so you can easier to justify.
Yeah.
Oh, I will go to tournament.
Yeah. Right.
But you don't justify as a like, oh yeah, it will be the same hourly. It's not gonna be the same hourly. It's practically like going to have fun.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another feature of it is, let's say if you have a big score, and this is something I done 2 years ago after a big score in a live tournament, was I then started playing satellites into very, very high stakes tournaments, which for sure in hindsight I did not have an edge in them. Like one of them was an online. I satellited into an online 20K, small field. I was for sure one of the, well, I won't say the worst, probably one of the not worst players strategically in that tournament. And what am I doing? And it's impulsivity linked to not understanding at the time where I rank on like a competence level. And also, as you mentioned, Oscar, was like the fun element, you know, like our regular grinds are all quite monotonous and quite samey, in my opinion, you know.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
And I feel for me, I often, it's almost a bit of escapism playing these tournaments, you know. So,
yeah, but then it just should have been like a choice. That's your choice to make.
Yeah.
It's like I will go have a rest from my regular grind, like almost like a holiday. You plan it out. You don't do it impulsively.
Makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
So if the only thing that we know exists is the present moment, from our quote, how do we overcome these, Oscars, in the present moment when we have these impulsions? Like how do we kind of step back and say, well, this is, because one side we could say, well, it's the present moment, this is what I want to do right now, I'm going to do it, right? Mm-hmm. That's one side of looking at it. And then the other is like, well, I've still got to work for the future. So in the present moment, I need to think about the future. So it's something that doesn't exist. How do you overcome that battle in our head?
I think it's the same as previously. It's a value list. It's you're understanding your values, what's important for you. Because it is present moment, but the present moment of like grind is the present moment as well. And it's you don't grind to grind, you grind to have something, right? So you don't, when you grind, you think about the opportunities that you will have afterwards.
Yeah.
So you work now to
so we sacrifice the only thing that exists for something that will exist in the future.
No, we go like when you walk to a beach, you need to get there somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
You can enjoy the walk there as well. That's
for sure. Yeah,
the grind.
Right? But when we get there, it's beautiful. So we've got to go through all of that to get to the beautiful part. And
exactly.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Are you struggling with impulsive behavior?
Myself, I'm not struggling now. No, my life is a lot more mundane than Leon's, I guess, because Leon has a big social life. I don't have much of a social life. You guys. In the past,
what's the most impulsive you have done?
Well, there's a few.
Some of it.
There's a few, yeah. I guess some of the graffiti missions have been very impulsive, like where I'm on the mission in graffiti, and like these are traveling to other countries. I won't say the countries because I don't want to have a case from the police in those countries.
Self snitching.
Yeah, I'm not gonna self snitch myself, but I've been in the country, and we get kind of like told meet here at this time, and we don't know what's ahead of us. And then like before you know it, the opening like latches in the floor, we're climbing down into tunnels, we're stopping trains in the middle of the tunnel, and like crazy exciting things happen in that present moment. But I actually didn't know what that present moment was ever going to be, and so it's super impulsive where I've got super high adrenaline rush, and you just go through with it, and it ends up being like probably like the happiest. When I think of like happiest things in my life, obviously the birth of my son and things like that are obviously embedded in me, but things that I've actively done and maybe put my life on the line or freedom on the line, these things also create so much happiness and memories in me. And like, so those impulsions have been, I don't regret them one bit, and I've loved them. And so I wouldn't call them a problem, but I wouldn't do them all the time because that would just be silly. I probably would end up getting arrested, and I probably wouldn't be focused on, if I chose adrenaline rushes over playing poker, probably wouldn't end up in a good place. Probably a lot of these kind of people that do this end up addicted to drugs or something, because like you need to replace the endorphin somehow, I guess, when you're have impulsive behaviors that generate adrenaline. I think that's why I do love poker, because it gives a bit of adrenaline and it's got a lot of unknowns, and it's how you act in that moment that kind of like creates the best outcome. And so that's why I do love poker so much. I think it kind of offsets my need to do adrenaline junkie kind of extreme sports, I guess. It's more the sitting here, but I'm still getting adrenaline pumping through me. So yeah, I wouldn't call it a problem now because I'm an old man now, settled in my ways. But I've had some nice impulsions that I've had, even some holidays. Like I used to never book a holiday or a trip in advance, and my fiance is having a big problem with this because she wants to book it a year in advance, or next year I want to go here, and I say, look, can we just wait till like a month before? And she can't, like her the way she needs to have everything planned. She needs to have something to look forward to, whereas I like to okay, I want to go skiing tomorrow. Let's make this happen somehow. And she's like, we've got kids. We can't do that. so it's like we're like I have to be a way more less impulsive for the family now. So for me, it's not so much. What about yourself, Oscars?
I would say the most impulsive thing, not the most, but one of the, is my poker career. I didn't beat a lot of. I didn't beat high stakes when I went pro. I went pro. I was beating spin and go $7 stake for a month or something. I had a 7-month-old kid, and I decided, okay, I will quit my job, move back to Latvia and be the only provider of the family. That's pretty dumb thing to do.
That is ballsy. It's worked out.
That's the most impulsive thing I could imagine, really. Wow. Hats off to you. That's really, and that worked out good, right? So
it created some pain for sure. That wasn't a smart thing, but end of the day, it worked out good.
Yeah.
Do you feel, Oscars, that like, because the moment when you switch to professional poker and your child, you're 7 months old, do you feel that having that sort of sense of responsibility and goal, as you said, has limited like how much impulsivity you've had in decision making in poker itself? So not playing tournaments and sticking to your regular grind. You think that's helped you?
When I never thought about it, but when you say it, I think I paid a painful price once, and now I'm a bit more careful with my choices.
Okay.
Nice.
That makes sense.
Leon, what's the most impulsive thing do you think you've done?
Oh Jesus!
I know you like to randomly go ruff. That's quite impulsive.
Long time. That's a long time ago. But I'll say something like even from. So I went back to my I've been at my dad's a lot over the past few weeks, and I go through he's like a folder of all of like my own photos or whatever, and I have like a school report from my first ever school, and they mention in there, they don't use his exact words, but they allude to my impulsivity from the ages of 3, 4, 5 years old. So I think it's something that's always, I think it's genuinely like I'm predisposed, maybe just genetically or my brain, to a lot of impulsive actions, which I've definitely simmered down over the years for sure. Like I do like to think I'm getting to be more measured in my impulsivity. But I think for me, it's, and I'm not exactly answering your question, but I think for me, my problem with impulsivity is on a day-to-day spending. Like I'll go to the supermarket. Most people have like a list. I'll just like grab this, and there's no like. Yeah, there's no like budgeting.
Maybe you need to do one big impulsive thing, and then it'll fix everything.
But I'm worried that if I do this one big impulsive thing, I'll be dead or something. Like 20 years in prison, like or go viral or something. So
Ryan looks worried. What happened?
I clicked something. Some Skype conversation came up. I tried to exit a Skype pop-up, and then it opened that page of the Skype, so the cameras all went everywhere. It's okay.
It's fine. I thought you were going to say you hadn't pressed record.
No, it's been recording. We're doing good. Cool. So when you're going to the shopping, you don't have a list and stuff like that, and you just like grab whatever looks good. So then you might not be getting the nutrients that you might need, or or something like that, right? You just see you get, if you're there, you're hungry, you're gonna get lots of food. If you've already eaten, you might not get enough food. That kind of thing, right?
Yes, what I've recently just literally like 8 weeks ago employed like a nutritionist, fitness trainer type guy, and what I realized for me is, and I've stuck to like my plan pretty religiously, but I need to have things like mapped out, like visually written down for me to help curb my impulsivity and have like a structure there. Like if I and one of the challenges of being a poker player is, I said, most people have a regular 9 to 5, no matter how they're feeling, whatever. If you don't go to your 9 to 5, you're ultimately going to get sacked from your job, right? In poker, when you have that much freedom, unless you're financially in the absolute shit, you can go financially in the shit and just grind your ass off, and get back into a good financial situation again. So for me, I've learned, not just with poker, but every aspect of my life, I need to have it mapped out and planned to help curb my natural inclination of impulsivity, which what works for me. I just feel like, and it's something I am learning. Like whatever like your character, or your however you lean behavior on a behavioral level, you need to have like a structure that suits you. And it's taken me a long time to realize this, but I'm getting there slowly but surely.
We're all growing, we're all learning. I think the whole world, at the moment is because we had like the lead up to COVID where everyone was kind of complacent with everything. Then COVID kind of wrecked everything. Then the world got like, here's your freedom, enjoy it. And then now everyone, I feel like, is on this kind of actually, like, because I've looked at a lot of data, and like household savings are like all-time lows and stuff like that. So people have been very impulsive for these last couple of years because they've been given freedom back. And now I think a lot of people are on that same, like, well, I need to work hard. I need to get my stuff together. So I don't think it's just you. I think it's a kind of like a consensus going around the maybe globe, even with inflation hitting everyone's pockets hard and everything like that, where everyone now like, oh, actually, well, I can't actually live just free and do what I want. I actually have to consider like the future.
There is that old saying: hard times make weak people, and weak people make. Oh, how is it? Hard times make strong people.
Strong people weak,
make good times. Good times make weak people. It's like it's what we do with the poker career. When we start out, it's hard times. Like my poker career, it's hard times. It creates a tougher poker player. Tough poker player beats the game, creates easier times, and then
he becomes complacent.
You get lazy.
Yeah.
100%. I think that's definitely true, because especially in the formative years of my career, or any moment when like my let's say like my bankroll net worth has gone to a lower level, how industrious I am, how much hours I put in generally has been when I've been in the shit. And I get out of it every single time. But it exemplifies what you just said, because it's like, or even like when there's you have like a mental reset. So I'm sure if I looked at my monthly profit for every year from over the whole time I've played, January's been my best month, probably 10 years out of the 14, because it's like a mental reset, or it's a brand new year, new me. It's having that, you know what I mean, just that thing in your head. It's interesting. I wish I had the consistency, that mindset consistently. I'd be.
You need a clear goal in that case, because when the times are tough, you have a clear goal. You want to get out of this shit. When the times are easy, you don't have a vision.
Yeah, maybe making your good times actually still saying, well, this isn't actually nowhere near my goal, and so it's not actually good times yet, and it still feels like that struggle. Because like now, like when this, for example, like I've made the most in poker for the last couple of years that I've done in my career. It's been very good years, but when I think about like the stock market taking a lot out of me, I feel like I'm in the shit and I have to grind really hard right now. Even though I'm in a much better financial situation than I've been majority of my life, probably like in the top 10% of my life financial situation, I still feel like I'm at the bottom of the ladder. I need to climb. Maybe because I tried to empty my bank account into the stock market a lot, and so I constantly don't have money lying around. And maybe that's like a good tool, like don't have, maybe put it in a ISA or something that you can't touch it for a few years, so you don't have money, so you are in hardship always until it's time to cash in on that ISA or the savings or the investments that you make or whatever. And I feel like that's working for me. It could be a good way to that other people could use that, like just don't actually have money sitting around so you never get complacent.
That could work.
Yeah, both of those things make sense. I mean, especially what you mentioned, Oscar, about just having like your end goal and stuff. And I think for me, because I don't want this to sound like a reality TV show-esque sob story or whatever, but for moments where I've been in my life, so I won't go into too much detail, but between like 16 to 18, I was basically living in like youth hostels, right? So from when I went from living in youth hostels, getting kicked out of my family home multiple times, when I found poker and I was able to eventually make a profit from it, I was like, oh well, this is it, I've made it now, you know. And I often use the analogy of a lot of, as it happens so much today, but a lot of like professional sports people who go from 0 to 100, and when their career's done, so for example, there's an English footballer called Paul Merson, the career's done, go bankrupt. And it's because in their mind, and part of my heart and soul, because of where I've been, once I realized I could make money from the game, I feel like I've sort of clocked it. But I need to sort of have and I think this is advice for anybody who's been in similar situations, need to properly like map out like a goal, as you mentioned, Oscars, and also have like a sense of, and this is why I think family is important, have a sense of like group responsibility, like you are like the figurehead of your family or people like rely and count on you. And I think that sort of helps, I imagine anyway, that sort of helps with, you know what I mean, just keeping consistent.
So a bit of like the Matrix almost, what you're saying is like, so you kind of like saying, well, I'm from this kind of background, that I've been in a hostel and stuff like that, so like I'm little makes you feel successful, and then and so you never, whereas somebody that's born where everything, their basic needs, food, shelter, etc., now they have this pressure to go be someone big and consistently grind or work to maybe a doctor or something, for example, would then never miss a day of work because obviously they've got other responsibilities, they can't mess up on their patients and stuff like that, but they I guess have a maybe set from their family that this is something that you have to, this is now the bottom, whereas for you anything is a winning, from what you're saying almost.
I feel like that could be part of it for me. And by the way, when I say that, I'm sure that there's many people who've had similar experiences to me who don't have that sort of life leak and that mentality. So I'm not trying to like say it's like an umbrella generalized thing. Of course, trying to unpack it for myself, maybe that might be one of the challenges there. So the consistency maybe, but. So
maybe like a mood, maybe like one of those mood boards where you like visualize what you want, and that's the minimum that you want. And then until
you need to update your goal.
Yeah. So maybe some sessions with Oscars, he can help with that.
Yes. So we need to book one in, Oscars, as soon as possible, because we're like 1 month away from the new year, new me sort of.
Yeah. January we will have a session. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. Any other points you guys want to make about FOMO and impulsive behavior?
One thing I still want to, one thing is like your low was pretty low. So what kept you going? Because I assume like you didn't get success right from the get-go when you started poker. What kept you going?
For me, so when I think my first ever job was my first few jobs were like sales and marketing jobs, or like telesales jobs. So that's calling. I was that annoying person that called your grandmum up on the phone and tried to sell them stuff. That was me. And I remember doing one of these jobs, hating one of the jobs, and I used to play online poker on my lunch breaks. And sometimes after work. And the first couple of years I was like losing. And I used to go to like a local poker room with one of my friends, Christos, who Ryan knows. Mm-hmm. And me and Christos, we always had like this little, like sort of rivalry from when we was in school to like late teens, early 20s, especially. And he won the tournament one week. I think he won. It was like 11. It was £40 entries, 1,000 for first. There's no way I was letting Christos just like get the victory just by himself. It wasn't happening. So that was one of the fuels for me. I really wanted to. It's partially that I also wanted to study and I wanted to crack the code. So I remember these times there was some players online. I think it's Beanmo and Total Science. I can remember these from
Beanmo. Yeah, okay, yeah. I owe everything to Beanmo. Beanmo made me a success overnight. Those videos was amazing.
Old school. But these guys are like the 900 sit and go crushers. And I remember when you used to shark scope their names, you'd see their profit just going through the roof. And I thought, like, what are these people doing that they could make a job from a card game that's considered to be gambling by everybody around the world? Like even now, like when we go to, it happens a lot when I'm in Uber. So what do you do for a living, mate? I play poker professionally. And you get this condescending, sneering look, or like this, you know, the generic quotes. How much did you lose? All of that sort of stuff, right?
How much did you win? But how much did you lose? It's like, well,
how
I just said how much I won. So.
Yeah. and I was more so stubborn when I was young. I'm still quite stubborn, but that stubbornness in me was like, well, you actually can do this. People have done it, and that was my push. Was wanting to prove people wrong, and then it's linked to why I need to figure out, like, map out like a new goal, because that was my big part of my goal. My dad said you can't make money from poker. Fuck you, Dad. I make money from poker. I remember dating. So I don't know, I'm kind of on a ramble, but like I dated some girls. What do you do for a living? Second, third date, I can't really see a future with you because this is what you do. And all of the it was the proving people wrong was a big part of my motivation.
Drive,
yeah, I mean, I don't know how, I'm assuming, I don't know how healthy that is. I think it's healthy in some ways, maybe not in some other ways.
As long as it gets the job done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're basically, you play poker out of spite.
That big part of the reason was wanting to prove people wrong, and also wanting to crack the code of this game. Like, how can this game with 52 cards translate into people making loads of money? I didn't get it, and I wanted to get it so badly.
Yeah. Beamo's graph I used to look at it every day, and I was at work. I used to do an apprenticeship, so it never actually really worked. But in the apprenticeship, I would look every single day to see his last day's results, and it would just be like whoop. Whoop. And it was always like he would just like always just be brought at the end, like, and I was like, he just keeps grinding it through and somehow he makes money. And then I had to know also, I just had to know why Beamo, like why was he so consistent? And he had the biggest sample at the time, him and like Pimpin' Donks and Jacko as well. And like these people, I was just looking at them, I was like, what makes them different as well? Like how is this person better than the next person? And you buy their videos and you find out why you start thinking about how they think, and they literally, it was just very, very similar for me. Like, I had to also figure out how do some people have consistent, and then you see other coaches as well. No offense, Rypack, but your charts weren't as good, and I'd be questioning. I'd be questioning why is like Croy Dog in Heads Up so good compared to. So I'd buy both the videos just to look at the differences. So that was interesting too.
Yeah, I remember back in the days in Sharkscope as well, when you'd put somebody's username in, if they was like, I don't remember the number, the top 10%, they'd have like a little shark icon next to their username, and if you was in the bottom 50%, you have like a little fish bowl.
Popped out.
Yeah, and I remember the day I searched my name, I had the fishbowl.
Oh.
Top five worst days of my life this day. Reset. I had to find out how to reset my statistics, reset my stats. I was like, I'm not getting this fishbowl. And the day I got the shark, top 5 days of my life, the day I first got the shark symbol.
Yeah, I remember that when I got the platinum star back in the days. I was like, wow, I've got the platinum star.
Yes. I was in my mind that day I was the best poker player in the world in my brain.
Yeah.
At that time, you know. So a long time ago.
Yeah, good old Sharkscope. So without Sharkscope, we might not have made it, right?
No, I might actually have a regular 9-to-5 job.
You never know.
Maybe like.
What would it be? What's your guess? What would it be?
Do you know what? Well, I was never really good at sales, so it wouldn't have been sales. I'd say maybe like football coaching. Yeah, I reckon football coaching. I mean, I do think there'll be a day when I really like immerse myself into football and get a job in that one day. So football's been a big passion for me. I'd say football coaching would have been a big shot for me for sure.
Yeah, when Oscar's asked the question, that was the first thing that entered my head for you. Was
Yeah.
like, I can't imagine you doing anything else but football coaching, because just knowing you and your passion for football. And
I have a therapeutic last question if we are wrapping up. Maybe it will help you for your future as well, and dealing with your FOMO and impulsive behavior. What's your definition of success?
That's a very good question. I'd say the definition of success is maximizing one's potential, and I think it's maximizing one's potential, because I think everybody has everybody has obviously like a ceiling, right? So you could be the best piano player in your house. You could be the best in your town, your street, in the town, the world, whatever. There's always a level above, a level higher. But I think as long as you can say to yourself that you've maximized your potential, and you can look back on yourself, and you can look at the decisions that you made 10 years ago and be like, okay, well, I'm at this point in my life today because of the decisions I made back then. And for me, that's success.
Yeah, but maximizing your potential, that's the tough one, because we all could. It would also be what we desire as well, because I think desire has to come in there, because like we all have the potential to be like maybe a businessman if we really, really wanted it, but there's no desire for that stress that comes with it and stuff like that, right? So I think desire has to come in there. So like maximizing your potential within your desires.
Yeah. I think that's a good addition to that. Yeah, for sure. Maximizing potential. Maximizing potential for your. I don't know, for your desires, for your wants, for the things for the values that you hold important.
For values that you hold important. Yeah, that's it. I think because if it's just maximize your potential, it's like, well, there's loads of potential that just playing poker we're not fulfilling, so we're not maximizing our potential, but we are in poker. So now we are becoming successful in poker.
Yeah,
because we desire to be poker players.
Yeah,
for whatever weird reason.
Question. Yeah, we're fools. All three of us playing poker for a living. Idiots.
What are you doing with your lives? You play cards. That's your potential. You play cards.
Yeah,
playing cards. Yeah,
you have all this potential. You play cards. What's this?
Yeah, I get this. I get this. So I'm digressing again, but in this co-living space that I lived in, there's so often when like people would like watch me play and see me play, and then they'd be like the comments was to the effect like, what are you doing? Like, how are you like? And I think another thing as well is, and I could talk forever, but one thing was, I think, kind of unique to poker. Let's say, for argument's sake, we had a friend who was a professional doctor, and we saw our friend in surgery. Yeah, we're not going to, or a professional surgeon. We're not going to say to him, why are you doing that? Like, why are you cutting that bit off? Or what you, or professional. Let's say it was a lawyer. I would have said it that way, because there's a level of like universal respect for that level of profession, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that makes poker fascinating and enjoyable and also profitable is that because there is the luck element, and because there is the not knowing, nobody really knows exactly how competent that they are, and because of those facets of it, you can get people. I had people in the co-living bit come up behind me. Why are you going all in with this? Like, why are you doing? Like, why are you doing? I wouldn't have done that.
Why 6-7 offsuit going all in here? But,
why?
I'm not going to tell you why.
Yeah, one guy stood behind me. I lost like 5 games in a row, and he gave me like a 15-minute. I've never had to hold my tongue so much in my life. He gave me a 15-minute lecture as to why I was so bad at poker. This guy.
Oh, wow.
It's like, the peak of his poker experience was it, is it Zynga Poker on Facebook? What's the
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. That was the peak of his thing, and he was telling me how he had to purchase chips on there or something like that. But
Wow.
and it's just yeah, but it's just
why didn't you push him off a bench?
Because of impulsivity, I managed my impulsivity in that moment. But yeah, it's just such an interesting, fascinating game. Yeah, I just love it. I love people's reactions to it, and yeah, good for good and for bad. So.
And you asked Oscars, what's his definition of success?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Oh, my definition. I asked it to so many people and never thought of my own answer. But
drum roll.
I believe that my definition of success is like when you're not afraid to die. I've been in that situation.
Ooh.
Well, I'm successful. Yay!
when you're like, if you die today, you're like, I did it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So now I feel very successful now because I've had that thought many times. Where it's like I've lived my life, I've done my things, and if I died, I'd be happy. So yeah, I like that. That makes me feel good. That's a nice one.
Yeah, that does make sense. But I'm fucking afraid to die. I get very.
I can see in your eyes. You're thinking, what I need to do now.
But I think it's different from just actually dying. It's like fear of dying, but like without regrets, almost. You know, like that kind of thing. Opposed to like actually like if someone puts a gun at someone who's successful and he's still going to be scared of dying, right? But it's like the idea of death doesn't fear you because you've achieved the things you wanted to achieve, like that kind of thing. Like
that you didn't wait for the better times. You didn't waste time. Basically, you kept going. You kept doing.
Yeah, it's very nice. I like that one. I'm gonna hold that. Yeah,
that's brilliant. I might put that on a tattoo, like somehow forget a paraphrase. I don't genuinely like. I really like that. So I'll put it on the wall or something. I like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Happy to hear. Anything else?
All good over here.
I'm all good now. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it'd be good to have you again, maybe in the future, because you're very good at speaking and like to hear your thoughts. And if
come on in a few months, then we'll see how I've managed the impulsivity.
Yeah, we'll do a check-in. We'll do a follow-up.
100%.
Sounds good.
We'll do like a hairline check. We'll see.
Yeah,
every podcast. Like fucking mid next year, it's gonna be like there somewhere. We'll see.
He comes with the stick. He comes with the big head next time. Like I can't show you.
We'll see.
Really, thank you for coming, bro. Nice one.
Thank you for going, guys. See you later.
Cheers.